I won't speak for Katie, but what I like about working with Katie specifically is that she is very demanding and exacting and does not take the easy path, even if it's like, holy shit, there's a hurricane coming. We should take the easy path right now because like we've got a show that's opening in 10 days. Like, let's just like put a fucking bow on this and write some lines so we can just stage this show. Katie, to her credit, would be like, no, we're going to sit here and we're going to argue until we come up with the right thing, basically. And it's usually, and the shows are stronger for it because of that. But the process does become a lot of that, like give and take too, of you got 8 creatives in a room and they could argue all day, but you got a show to do in 2 weeks. So it becomes that negotiation of like, and all of them almost feel like it would be 2 weeks out. It feels like it's impossible to get the show on its feet and actually perform it for an audience. But then everything kind of collapses in on itself. Yeah, because like the group dynamic reaches like a point where every little node of that network is aware of what the piece is because we've been sitting here and just hammering away at it for so long and discussing at it from every single angle and examining it from all its many facets and then 7 days out it's like everyone's like, oh yeah, that's what the piece is, let's just do that. And it's like the machine just starts working, and then it's once the machine starts working, then it becomes like fun.
What are like the pros and cons of like living with your collaborator? Unless it'll ruin your relationship, in which case do not answer.
Yeah, don't air any skeletons. But
well, I think the pros are that, I would say the they're one and the same, you know. It's, we have a collective history. We know exactly where the other person is coming from, and so yeah, I think that's it. It's a positive from the perspective of communication where I know what's going to be in his wheelhouse. The things that I love the most about Nick, my partner, and Nick in romance, life, and art is that he is a very patient teacher, and he's so good at he's just wonderful at explaining very difficult concepts, and so I think for the work that we do, being able to have someone, because perhaps I'm going to bring more music, more emotion to it, which I think is also a good thing. And Nick is going to be able to articulate ideas in a really thoughtful way. I think the strengths are the weaknesses and vice versa.
Yeah, I would say that. Like, I think we had been a couple for 8 years, 6 years. I don't know. Let's say 7 years. We'd been a couple for 7 years.
I think we're 8 and 8 now.
Okay, so we were a couple for 8 years before we started working together really, really closely. Like right at the beginning of the relationship, Katie acted in some plays that I wrote, but then after that, we kind of decided like, we're not going to be the theater couple that like is just constantly working together.
Or like, I'm not going to be like the actress who's just always in your plays. Like, I don't want to be that person.
So we for about 8 years, that was what it was. And then we decided to become that actor couple that is constantly working together, basically, when we founded the ColdHarts. And even with like the beginning of the ColdHarts, like I would say, you know, I think the advantage of being a couple was apparent. Of like, I would say the first show we did, Legend of White Woman Creek, like that one kind of, I mean, the driving force with, it was a one-woman show that Katie performed, and for me, during that creative process, like, I, at the top of my head, like, knew, like, okay, I know this person well, and I know this performer well, and every thing in that show was kind of put through the filter of, like, I want to show off what this performer can do, and that I know she can do. And so like my contribution to that piece was like pushing like the, you know, making sure that it was like the complete package of like, this is a demonstration of exactly what Katie can do as a performer. And so like that intimate knowledge like definitely helped that. And then with the second piece that we did, Edgar Allan, like we very specifically at the beginning, or towards the beginning of the staging process, like just decided like, okay, we're going to play opposite on stage one another. We have a natural energy as a couple. Like, what are those natural energies? Okay, let's just heighten all of your natural energy, like way up, and let's push me way down. And now we have like a character relationship that we can explore for an hour on stage. And so that show, like I hadn't performed a whole lot before that show, but we kind of built it to my strengths. And so what would have been like a daunting task to take up acting at 29 and start like touring it and trying to like make money at it, became like, it was kind of in, you know, it had a bit of a parachute fall to it, because we had that history, and because we, you know, had, we had that 8 years of relationship history that we were able to build a performance on top of, basically. And I guess the cons would be just that, you know, there's times that, you know, like in the middle of a 3-month tour where we've been just driving for 6 weeks and have just been in a car.
It's intense.
Yeah, it's intense. It really prepared us for quarantine, though. Of quarantine, we're like, okay, yeah, I can deal with, like, the apartment's way bigger than the car, so like, go to opposite ends of the apartment. And the radio stations, you know, are more consistent in the apartment as well. So,
what brought you to goth musical kind of thing? Because I love goth stuff. I collect skulls and dragons, but I'm usually like, there's a reason somebody went to the dark side. So I would love to know what got you there.
Oh, that's a good question. I think what's interesting, we talk about this, is how, like, when we were growing up in our respective schools, we were the type of people that we could fit into many different groups, but we weren't like a part of any one clique. Does that make sense? So
yep, same.
And, and we could call so many different types of people our friends, you know? And I think a part of that is, I think it's interesting that we like always sort of identified like with being on the edge of a group, you know? So we never really felt, I never really felt like I was a part, like my identity was tied strictly to just like one group. I was a kid who was totally comfortable with indulging in weird things, you know, like things that other people thought were weird. I loved ghost stories and I loved history, and I think the more I think about this, I think it's because my mother loves history, but she sort of leans towards the more I don't know. I probably just heard about things as a small child that I probably shouldn't have as a small child. And so I just sort of like had a relationship to darkness that I don't think a lot of kids, I don't think a lot of kids do or should. I think I was also like the daughter who always questioned like, well, like you know, gender stereotypes, gender roles, very traditional things. I was always challenging all of these things. And I think for my very traditional parents, they were just sort of like didn't really, you know, yeah, they sort of my mom indulged some of it, but not all of it. But yeah.
I think I kind of just grew up in a household where, you know, my father was a filmmaker, and so like he showed me a lot of movies I probably shouldn't have seen at a young age.
There's a theme here.
Yeah, I was just, and I love, you know, you know, but like in second grade, my favorite movie was Terminator 2, and like I remember my mom being mildly disturbed that he kept bringing us to all these movies, but me and my brother loved it, and then once Pandora's box was open, it's like, you know, because forever it became, if my mother ever objected, it was like, well, you let us Terminator 2 when we were 8, and then it was like precedent had been set. So my mother didn't have a leg to stand on, but she also was the one who would leave just Stephen King novels all over the house that I would just naturally pick up and read. And honestly, I think reading Needful Things when I was in 4th grade probably messed me up more than anything else. Like, because I realized it wasn't until going back and reading more Stephen King as an adult, I was like, oh man, these things are like, these are novels, yes, but they are also just gradients of like either metaphorical or literal sex abuse, basically. Like they are like it, and I don't think I understood it as a kid at all. Or yeah, because I remember oftentimes reading passages and being like, there seems to be an added layer here that I don't quite understand, but that's okay. We'll table this, and like, yeah, and it wasn't like, didn't really get into creating art in the genre though until probably when I was like 23 or 24. Once I had kind of expelled my, you know, first 5 good ideas, that's when I started going back and looking at just things that I encountered from my childhood that just stuck with me. But one thing that I learned this year that really excited me and made me kind of understand like why I like this genre and why I get satisfaction, and why other people like the genre. Like, why do people like gathering in a group and like scaring themselves for a period of time? And because I think, you know, it's funny you say that, like, fun horror. because I think ultimately all of it's fun. Even the stuff, even like, I don't know if you saw Hereditary, a couple years back, the independent film, that thing put me in like, I was like just constricted for a full hour and a half, to the point it was like, I don't know that my body can take this, but I was enjoying it on some level every single moment. And I realized that when you are scared, you encode fear, or you encode memories in a different way. Like if you're in a stressful situation or in a fearful situation, you encode memories in a different way, in that you still have those memories, they're still there, but you really don't access them until you recreate that sense of fear and unease and stress in your head, basically. Until like those starting conditions are met, that's when those memories can be accessed. Once the brain is in a similar state, all of a sudden these memories that were encoded in the fear state are accessed. And I think ultimately that's, you know, why I stay up until 6 a.m. scaring myself watching, you know, serial killer documentaries. Like, you know, that's why, you know, we like do a show like The Unrepentant Necrophile, and like just embody these, you know, weird, like, this weird, broken, unsettling, like largely disgusting characters. Like that's the reason it is like, it's to remember. I think it's very interesting to remember all those things that your mind won't let you, you know, won't let you under normal circumstances.
Yeah.
Hey guys, if you like what we just did, there's going to be plenty more coming up. Please like, comment, subscribe. Our Venmo is in the description. Please support us if you can. Our cats need the money.